The internet tried to knock my mans down, but absolutely nothing has changed. J. Cole is one of the greatest rappers of all time. J. Cole had a pretty rough year last year because of his actions during the hip-hop civil war of Drake and Kendrick. J. Cole has been one of my favorite rappers over the last 10 to 15 years. I have purchased every single album that this man ever put out, even the Dreamville compilation that he released a few years ago. But I was disappointed with how he handled the whole Drake and Kendrick situation, not necessarily just because he dropped out. It was how he dropped out. But honestly, I don't really care about that situation anymore. But this video is about showing love. This video is about giving flowers to an artist that I think is great. I've done this type of video in the past. I've done one for Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and The Weeknd. And now I want to show some love to J. Cole. Also, a quick disclaimer, please excuse my voice. I'm feeling a little bit sick right now. But also, I like pretty much every J. Cole project. I don't think J. Cole has ever dropped a project that I would say is bad. I don't think he's made a bad album or a bad mixtape. So any album that's lower on my list does not mean that I think it's trash. I'm saying this because I know how the internet is. The internet likes to go to the extreme with everything. Also, this is my personal list. This is my personal favorites. I would like to know your list in the comment section below. Also, this list only compiles of his full projects, so no EPs. Do not ask me where Truly Yours ranks. This is only his full projects. So coming in at number 10, his debut mixtape, The Come Up. The memories that I have with this mixtape came out all the way back in 2007. If some of you were even born around that time. So this came out in 2007. I don't think I listened to this until like 08, 09, which was my freshman year of high school, which is crazy to even think about. No old jokes in the comment section. I made a Playboy Cardi video and everybody just kept calling me Unc. Between this and the warm-up, I felt like J. Cole was exactly everything that I was looking for in a rapper, because I'm from the South, and in the mid to late 2000s, if you were around, you know exactly what was going on during that time. It was in the middle of the Snap era. Everybody was dancing, everybody was cranking something. It was crank that Soulja Boy, crank that Batman, crank that SpongeBob, crank everything. Everybody was overdoing auto-tune. It was real nasty out here. And then I found out about J. Cole, and you have this young guy that actually has something to say. And even on his very first project, he has always been really good at making music that you feel. A song like College Boy had me excited as hell to go to college, and it did not disappoint. But Cole sounded so hungry on this project, and the reason why this comes in last is because I feel like he perfected this style and got so good at it later in his career. Also, this project doesn't really have any structure to it. This project has a lot of freestyles where he's just showing people I can rap. Like Quote Me is fire, The Come Up, Mighty Crazy, Dead Presidents, and a bunch of others. But the storytelling on Lil Ghetto Nigga, College Boy, School Days, you could see the potential was there from the very beginning. But I love this project, and I believe he added it to streaming services a few months ago. So if you haven't heard it before, definitely go back and check it out. If I had to pick my favorite song, I would go with track 17, Can't Cry. I still listen to that a lot today. Coming in at number 9 is an album that means so much to me. This was such a moment for people like me if you were outside back then. Coming in at number 9, J. Cole's debut album, Cold World, Sideline Story. This was the first album that I ever purchased with my own money back when I was in high school. I remember when this album came out, I literally listened to nothing but this for like 2-3 weeks. Like, this was such a moment for me. I had waited so long for J. Cole to release his debut album, and it was so many songs on here I love. Can't Get Enough, in my opinion, is an example of a perfect single. You have a good hook, a good beat, and J. Cole is actually really rapping on there. I mean, he said, I carry 4 5s like change for 20. Bro, that was crazy back in like 2011. But Sideline Story is fire. Nobody's Perfect, Never Told, Breakdown. Just looking at this track list gives me such nostalgia. If I could be really real with y'all, I remember back in 2012, I had a pregnancy scare when I was 18 years old. And I remember I listened to Lost Ones on repeat for like a week until I knew I was in the clear. Like, I get PTSD every time I even think about that song. And the reason why this album is so low on my list is not that I think that it's a bad project. It's just, to me, as a whole, it didn't age that well. Mr. Nice Watch has always been garbage to me. I still can't believe that's the only verse Jay-Z ever gave Cole. But even songs like Dollar in a Dream 3, Cold World, God's Gift are all songs that I used to really love that I can't listen to today. And yeah, you got classic songs like Lights Please and In the Morning, but he took those off of Friday Night Lights. And if you know anything about this album, if you know the story behind this album, this is not the album that J. Cole wanted to do. This was the album that the label made him do because they didn't think he would be able to sell. well. So the label is the reason why we got songs like Mr. Nice Watch, Workout. Nas won't the only one J. Cole let down. I love the hook and the beat of Workout, but those verses are terrible. I don't know if he ever specified exactly how much, but the story has always been that a lot of Friday Night Lights was supposed to be his debut album, but the label didn't think that he had a radio record, so that's why we got this. Not a bad album by any means. I just can't put this over some of his other stuff. My favorite song on here has been the same since the day that this album came out. It has and will forever always be Rise and Shine. I love that song so much. I still play that to this day. The Jay-Z quote at the beginning of that track fits perfectly. Coming in at number 8 is an album that I feel like didn't get the love that I feel like it should have because of everything surrounding the project. But coming in at number 8, Might Delete Later. Might Delete Later isn't a bad project by any means. I don't know if the Kendrick disc that he deleted left a bad taste in my mouth, but the best way that I can describe this album, it's cool. It's a lot of good to great on this album, and lyrically at this point in J. Cole's career, this might be the best rapping he's done in his entire career, which is crazy to think about. But I kind of look at this album kind of like an Untitled Unmastered, like how I judge that. Like, it's not whack, it's not bad by any means. It's a lot of good songs that I don't want to go back and listen to. The album is only 12 songs long, and I never really liked Hunting Wabbits, and I really hate that song Fever. That song is garbage to me. And then the diss record, let's just act like that never happened. But when it comes to the other songs on here, Cole is rapping his ass off, like Pricey, Ready 24, Sticks and Stones, and others. Even the line in HYB where he's saying the alphabet and skips over the letter L. I like that line, and I know this is gonna sound crazy. Not every bar needs to be serious. I cannot talk about this project without mentioning Pi featuring Daylight and Ab-Soul. Ab-Soul is such an underrated lyrical rapper, and as a big fan of battle rap, I've been watching Daylight for years, so I've always known what he can do. For some reason, Daylight blocked me on Twitter. The biggest troll in the world is really sensitive. But this is a good, cool album. I mean, with songs like 3001, Trader Truth, and Ibiza, I really like this album. I just can't put it over some of his other stuff. If I had to pick my favorite song on this album, this might sound kind of crazy, but it has to be Stealth Mode featuring Boss, because I think that song is hilarious. Like, I think Pi is the best song on this project, but I really love Stealth Mode for some reason. Like, I hate when I'm in the club and bottle girls bring the sparklers over. Just bring me my bottle. These next 3 albums were really hard for me to put in order. So the way that I broke it down was which album has the song that I hate the most. And that's the reason why this album comes in at number 7. So coming in at number 7, KOD. The thing about this album is that it has a lot of songs on here that I really love, and then it's songs that I really hate. Photograph and The Cutoff are 2 songs that I love so much, and Once an Addict is easily one of my favorite J. Cole songs ever. I can't relate to every single thing that J. Cole talks about in his music, but whenever he talks about college, it really hits me, especially like in this song when he talks about using college as a vessel to be able to run away from his problems back home. Because when I was younger, when I started school, that was my exact thought when I was 18 years old. I was like, whatever issues I got back home with my family, I'm gonna go off to college, I'm gonna forget everything, I'm gonna be happy, and I'm gonna just live my life. But then you realize when you get older, you can't just run away and ignore everything. Kevin's Heart and Brackets are 2 songs that I still really enjoy. So this isn't a bad album by any means. It's just the songs that I hate. I really hate. I have never liked KOD. I hate the beat. I hate the way he rapping. I hate the hook. Throw that song in the garbage. ATM is terrible to me, and Motivate might be the worst song on this album. If you took those 3 songs off of this album, I don't really have any complaints. I also feel like the album that he dropped before and after this was so much better than this. And also, if I had to pick my favorite song off of here, once again, it would be Once an Addict. Easily a top 5 J. Cole song for me. Coming in at number 6 is an album that I feel like for a lot of people, it's gotten more and more praise as time has went on, because when this album came out, I feel like it got a lot of hate. But coming in at number 6, Born Sinner. This album has had me torn for 10 years now, and I remember when this album came out, it's not that I thought that it was bad, it's just for all the hype that was surrounding J. Cole's sophomore album, because he had a big rollout leading up to this, I just didn't like it as much as I thought I would. And I also feel like this is the album that people really started saying that J. Cole was boring. And I get it. This album has a very dark sound and feel to it. I mean, the very first single, Power Trip, is a song about killing a woman's boyfriend, which is a follow-up to his song Dreams, if you're an OG Cole fan. This album has a lot of good songs on it, like Illuminati is still a great opener in my opinion. Rich Niggas, She Knows, Crooked Smile, and don't even get me started on the deluxe tracks like Is She Gon' Pop is my shit, and Niggas Know. He does have songs in here that I don't like, but he doesn't have a song that I would say I straight up hate. Unlike with KOD, I never liked that song Land of the Snakes. I never liked Chain and Day. Let Nas Down gets a lot of hate, but I don't mind that song. Like, I get the jokes, I guess, but imagine meeting somebody that you really look up to and they tell you to your face that you let them down. Like, I don't listen to the song that often, but I'm not mad at it. Forbidden Fruit isn't a bad song by any means, but this song has pissed me off like the last 12 years. Because for everybody on the internet, when we saw the track list and everybody saw featuring Kendrick Lamar, we all thought we were getting a verse, just a hook. But this was not and is not a bad album. I feel like this kind of just got lost in the sauce in 2013, because if you were outside back then, you know that was a crazy year. I mean, Drake dropped Nothing Was the Same, Mac Miller dropped Watching Movies with the Sound Off, Kanye West dropped, Jay-Z dropped, Tyler the Creator dropped, A$AP Rocky dropped the album, A$AP Ferg dropped the album, Chance the Rapper, Kendrick dropped the Control verse. It was a lot going on back then. If I had to pick my favorite J. Cole song on this album, it would easily be Runaway. Fun fact, Runaway is my second favorite J. Cole song of all time. I love that song. I'll tell you my most favorite J. Cole song a little bit later in the video. Good album. Coming in at number 5 is an album that I feel like is extremely underrated, and I don't know why, but I feel like it gets a lot more hate than it deserves. Coming in at number 5, For Your Eyes Only. This album is very polarized, and I feel like for J. Cole fans, because you have some J. Cole fans, they'll tell you that this is one of the greatest albums that he's ever done, and others will tell you it's one of his worst. The main thing that people say whenever this album gets brought up is Folding Clothes sucks. Yes, Folding Clothes does suck. I hate that song. I think it's garbage. In my opinion, that might be one of the worst songs J. Cole has ever made. But I don't know if you noticed or not, that's not the only song on this album. And in my opinion, that might be the only miss. This album is not as bad as people make it out to be. Like, I love the intro on this album. Immortal and Deja Vu are good songs. Villain Mentality is dope as well. This album is only 10 songs long, and I like 9 of them. This is definitely a mood album. Just like with Born Sinner, this album just feels very dark. And if you know the story of this album, it makes perfect sense. Like, the concept of this album is you have this dude from the hood. He's involved with some stuff that he probably shouldn't be involved with. He meets a girl, he has a daughter, and then at the very end of the album, he dies. People just be like, oh, this album is boring. Folding Clothes is stupid. It's so much more to this album than that. Lyrically, the last song on this album, For Your Eyes Only, in my opinion, is one of the best songs that J. Cole has ever made. This song is 8 minutes and 50 seconds of emotion and heat. He made this album to show that it's more to people in the hood than violence and drugs, and that it's people with friends and family that actually care about them. They just come from a messed up environment. The way that he ends this song talking to the daughter about why her dad's a real nigga, and it's not because of anything ignorant. He was a real nigga because he loved you. In my opinion, people really slept on this album, and if I had to pick my favorite song off of here, it would be the title track, For Your Eyes Only. In my opinion, a 10 out of 10 song. These last 4 projects were pretty easy for me to put in order once I started to make this list. I don't know if it's a hot take because of the projects that I have coming after this album, but coming in at number 4, The Off Season. This is one of the few J. Cole albums that I don't think I've ever heard somebody say, I don't like this. This album comes off of J. Cole completely killing features over the last however many years, and he is rapping his ass off. In terms of a complete project, I feel like this is easily the best produced album that he's ever did. I mean, the beats on here was crazy. I knew this album was gonna be fire from the very first track, 95 South, and it starts off and the first thing you hear is Cameron, and then they end the song with Lil Jon. I can go through the track list on here, but almost everything is fire. My Life is Crazy, Applying Pressure, Punching the Clock, Close. I can name almost every song on here. The only track I don't like is track 7, Pride is the Devil. Never been my thing. Over the last few years, I feel like this is the album that people have been wanting J. Cole to make, because the conversation around J. Cole has always been, yeah, he can rap good, but the beats are whack, the beats are stale, it's boring, J. Cole is boring. That's the thing that we've always heard. But on here, we got production from Timbaland, Boy Wonder, T-, and a bunch of other people. J. Cole has production credits up and down this album, but the beats on here is fire. This J. Cole album is so hard. People I know that hate J. Cole, even they say they like this album. Like, I feel like I would be crazy not to have this album this high on my list. If I had to pick my favorite song off of here, this is really hard. I'm gonna go with track 8, Let Go My Hand, or My Life. I'm gonna go with both of those because this is my video and you ain't gonna do nothing about it. Coming in at number 3, like I said, I am an old J. Cole fan. I am an OG J. Cole fan. I don't know if it's nostalgia, but I love this project. Coming in at number 3, I have to go with The Warm-Up. The Warm-Up is a borderline perfect project. The only song I don't like is the very last one, Lose My Balance, and that's technically a bonus song. This mixtape brings me back to such a simple time in my life, back all the way in high school, back in the day when I used to have an afro. And like I said earlier, around this time, J. Cole was the exact type of rapper that I was looking for. Can I Live, bro? Like, I know he put these on streaming services a few months ago, but y'all weren't outside back then. Grown Simba, Lights Please, Dead Presidents 2, I Get Up. Come on, man. Hold It Down. Still to this day, I listen to this project really often, and I still be singing along word for word like I just heard it for the first time. I remember the first time that I heard Dreams, and it was about this crazy guy that liked the girl so much that he thought about killing her boyfriend, and that's what he followed up with Power Trip years later, where he actually went through with it. This man went from Heartache to Getaway to Knock Knock. Like, this is the type of stuff that I be talking about when I say that I feel bad for the younger generation, because during the blog era, we were eating good. Like, this album was free. You could go on datpiff.com and download this for free. If I had to pick my favorite song of this album, I could go so many ways, but I'm gonna have to go with I Get Up. I mean, that song means so much to me, and I don't know if it's still there, but back in the day on YouTube, he had studio sessions of him recording all these classic songs. I don't know if those are still there, but I would have to go with I Get Up or Dead Presidents 2. I love this project. And now we're at the final two. And in the past, when I've done these videos, I've kind of struggled with number 1 and 2. Like when I did a video for Drake, when I did a video for The Weeknd, my 1 and 2 could kind of go either way. But for me, my number 2 has been set in stone for over 10 years now. Absolutely nothing is going to change from my number 1 unless The Fall Off is the greatest album I have ever heard in my life. My number 1 is not changing. So coming in at number 2 is 2014 Forest Hills Drive. Obviously, I'm not a rapper, even though I could be. I'm not a rapper, so I can't relate to everything. But when I tell you that I relate to certain aspects of this album so much, like we really go from the day that he was born to when he goes to high school to when he moved to became a rapper to since he got famous. Like we really go on his life journey. January 28th, we don't even need to talk about this song. Great opening track, classic J. Cole song. I be singing this song word for word like I heard it for the first time in my life every single time this comes on in my car. Wet Dreams is a song that I always see get a lot of hate, and I feel like it's because people are corny and they like to think that they're cooler than what they really are. To me, I think that song is a great story and it's highly relatable. Like I remember back in the day before I started really having sex, I'm a virgin in case my mom ever see this, but before I started having sex back in the day, I remember I had the just in case condom stuffed in my back pocket. All the fellas that's watching this, they know about the just in case condom. It's probably stuffed in your wallet. It's probably disgusting as hell. It's probably even expired at this point. You know you're not gonna actually use it, but just in case. Honestly, in my opinion, this is almost a perfect album. The only song in here that I for sure don't like is Hello. I've never liked that song. I've always thought that song was terrible. GOMD is a song that I used to love. This album came out when I was in college. I used to love this song back in the day, but today I don't feel like it aged that well, so I don't really listen to it anymore. But outside of those 2 songs, I don't have nothing to complain about. Like I know people like to joke about the whole it went platinum with no features, but this is a great album. If I had to pick my favorite song off of here, it is easily Love Yours. And ever since I started doing this YouTube channel, I try to be somewhat different on here than I am in real life. In real life, I keep a lot of things inside, but with YouTube, with people that watch me, I try to open up and I try to let y'all into what really goes on in my head. And I'm not embarrassed about it. I've talked about this before, but I've cried to Love Yours. And I remember when I graduated college in 2016, that was the darkest and lowest that I've ever been in my life. Like I had no money. I was broke as hell. I had no job. I had no sort of structure in my life. Like it was no more, oh, just wait a few months and then fall semester starts. Like, no, we're in the real world now. Like my friends, they graduated, they went immediately into their career, and me, I was just stuck trying to figure my life out. And I remember one day I was in my bedroom drinking, and I was drinking Wild Turkey 101, and this song came on, and I just started crying like a baby. But we getting money now, so I'm all good. I love this album. And coming in at number 1 with obvious process of elimination, if you've been keeping tracks of the albums that I've mentioned so far, this album was already set in stone. When I started creating this list and I started putting the order together, the very first thing that I did was type number 1 in this album. We don't need to beat around the bush. We can get straight to it. Coming in at number 1, in my opinion, J. Cole's best project and my favorite project, coming in at number 1, Friday Night Lights. This is one of my favorite mixtapes ever. Between this and House of Balloons by The Weeknd, those two are my favorite mixtapes of all time. Like, honestly, look at this track list and tell me which song on here is bad. The worst song on here in my opinion is You Got It, but if that's the worst song on your entire project, you got something special. The intro, Friday Night Lights, into Too Deep for the intro, and then he follows that up with Before I'm Gone, and then he follows that up with Back to the Topic. This is an example of a perfect mixtape in my opinion, and I'm curious just how much of this project was supposed to be on his debut album, because the story that I always heard was that he threw a couple freestyles on here because they were going to push this as a mixtape. But generally, with the original songs on here, this was supposed to be his debut album. This is the album that Cole wanted to give to the world, and Roc Nation dumbass was like, nah, we can't sell this. You do not understand what my face looked like the first time that I heard Premeditated Murder. Easily a top 10 J. Cole song. This man followed the warm up with this, and this was when it was confirmed to me that he was going to be one of the chosen ones. It's really annoying to me because people now are trying to rewrite history because of the whole Drake and Kendrick situation that took place last year. J. Cole is top 3 of his generation, and in my opinion, easily top 10 all time. This album means so much to me, and I'm kind of jealous of all the younger people that just listened to this project for the first time a few months ago when it got added to streaming. Like, for me, I think this project is better than So Far Gone, and I think it's better than Section 80. The subject matter that we got on this mixtape, he ends the project with SeaWorld, which is a disgusting story if you know any of the details about that, and then he follows that up with Farewell. But then at the very end of this project, he ends the project with a bonus track featuring good music, which thinking about today is really odd to think about. But this man got on the track with prime good music with prime Kanye, Pusha T, Saha, Big Sean, all these dope rappers, and he out-rapped everybody. I love this mixtape. I love J. Cole, and if I had to pick my favorite song off of this album, it was already set in stone. Like I said, my number one was already set. The rest of this list was just for you guys. My number one was always going to be number one, but my favorite J. Cole song on this album is my favorite J. Cole song of all time. It's called Two Face, and that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to go to Dreamville Fest, because I was hoping to see J. Cole perform Two Face live, because I saw on the internet he performed Two Face at Madison Square Garden, and I'm jealous of everyone. I don't know if I'm tripping. I don't know if it's nostalgia, but in my opinion, J. Cole's best project is Friday Night Lights. But thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you're new here. We talk about a bunch of different things on this channel. I wish I was going to Dreamville Fest. He took too long to announce a lineup for me, and there was a couple of things that I didn't like, so I'm not going. But I hope everyone that does go, I hope you have fun. I hope you be safe. I'm gonna try to catch him on tour if he ever does drop the fall off, whenever that's supposed to be. Hopefully I'll see him then. But what do you guys think about my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? For the smart people, do you think that I was completely right? Or do you think that I'm completely wrong? I want to see your list in the comment section below. Love you guys. As always, remember to tell somebody that you love them. Until next time, see you in the next life.